Hi everyone, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. And now we have our first chapter of the year. Chapter 1136, titled The Country That Awaits the Sun. So just going off that title, it seems we're going to get a little bit of more background and information on Elbaf. That's going to be quite interesting to get into. So let's see what the cover story is. Okay. Onichild Yamato and Holy Inari Shrine Pilgrimage, Volume 22, A Mysterious Hidden Base in Udon. So now we have Hold'em, who after being totally one-shot by Tama, is now tied up. He's being led by Yamato, and Horselina's there, and Tama's riding on her, and they are going to a shrine. Not a shrine, but a building. And this building has the cowl on it from, oh my, not, what was his name? Not Poker, Blackjack. Uh, Trying to remember the name. It was the Tobiropo that, the member of the Tobiropo that Jinbei fought with. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember his name. Ah, Who's Who, that's the name. So anyway, the cover story is apparently Who's Who is still operating in Wano, a mysterious hidden base in Udon, and it's a building with Who's Who's head on the top of it. So I guess Who's Who is running some underground thing in Wano that's about to get busted up by Yamato. Okay, Nutsumura. I went to Miyako-jima over New Year's and chilled out with some kare, with some cottage, chanpuri, and non-alcoholic beer, living up like it's already summer. So Oda's been having fun over the break. Very good for him. First page. Luffy eating a big piece of meat. It's so tasty. Even the meat is huge. This moose reminds me of dinosaur meat. They're quite tricky to catch, as ferocious as they are delicious. No task is too great if it's for one of our savior. If it's for one's savior. I appreciate it, Harujin Stanson. Digaga, glad you like it. It's rare for humans to make it all the way to the Sun Realm. Most confuse the underworld for Elbaf proper and flee before they find their way up here. And this is Mountain Beer talking. Listen up, mighty oars. Listen up. The mighty Oars was a warrior legendary even to you giants. He'd tower over any of you 3 times over. And guess who finally finished him? That's right, it was me. Way to go, Captain Usopp. So you got Usopp telling tales. And Elbaf. Wow, your skin really is blue. You should see Fishman Island. There are as many skin tones as there are fish in the sea. I've always wanted to see a mermaid. No shame in that. They're a sight to behold. Mermaid Cove is more exciting than heaven itself. Whoa! That said, my heart soars just as much when I see you, giant ladies. Oh, Sanji-kun, you're so silly. It's cute. Woohoo! Beauties everywhere. I look like I'm getting. Oh, beauties everywhere I look. I'm getting buried in babes. So we've got Jinbei and Sanji talking to the giants. It makes sense that a lot of the giants in Elbaf haven't actually seen fishmen before. Now someone's talking to Brook. And what are you? Who, me? I can answer that with my own blues. My what the heck am I ditty? Yeah. I guess it's a big wide world out there. Let's toast to it. I'm surprised so many giants have never gone out to sea. Yeah. Kind of assumed they were all pirates. Now we've got Road approaching Nami and Zoro. Yeah! Nami Tasso, I wanna apologize to you and this other Straw Hat about before. He ain't gonna be forgiven that easily, but beating a proper apology out of him was the least we could do. Tasso's sadistic side really makes my heart flutter, says Road. Don't sweat it. It's not like anyone died. Although it's only 'cause Usopp stopped me, says Zoro. If he didn't, it would have been your head. So Zoro saying that if Usopp hadn't stopped him, he would have killed Road. Wah! Road! Yuck, 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 yuck. Don't tell me you picked a fight without checking their current bounties. You never stood a chance. Now you've got Gerd talking to Zoro. Don't hold back next time. Gerd Tasso! She's so harsh, I can't get enough. Come on, everyone born here on Elbaf shares the same dream. To become the next sun god and rule the world. Sun gods? Says Zoro. Are you kidding me? The sun god isn't a ruler. That's right, he's the god of liberation. More like destruction. You're wrong. Everyone knows he was the god of laughter. It's getting rowdy. What's this about a god? The sacred Harley texts have been passed down for generations in Elbaf. The legends are written in archaic language, so there have been countless interpretations. No one can say for sure which translation is accurate, and this is the result. According to the Harley text, the world has already been destroyed twice before, and the name of sun god Nika is invoked after each instance. Nika, says Luffy, is reaching for more meat and eating while Mountain Beard is explaining this to him. Who can say if he was the world's savior or the great destroyer who brought it crashing down? All we know for sure is that he heralds great change. That's why the rulers of the day always tend to fear Nika's return. Nika. We've got a shot of an ancient drawing of Nika, which of course looks like Luffy's Gear 5th form, except this version is carrying a shield and a spear or sword. Interesting, the art looks very similar. It's kind of a mix between that shadowed figure of Nika that we've seen in it before, also mixed with kind of the art style of the paintings from Skypiea. So once again, we get a sort of Skypiea callback. That's the guy Bonnie mentioned. Yes, the sun god has become a symbol, someone the hopeless and desperate turn to for salvation. They say Nika is adorned by white clouds, with white hair and white clothes to boot, and he is said to have a contagious booming laugh. No wonder everyone's been saying I look similar. But I'm sure he's got nothing to do with me. Don't be so dismissive, Straw Hat. So we've got the new giant warrior pirates chiming in. Don't be so dismissive, Straw Hat. You'd understand if you were born on Elbaf. We all look up to Nika. Not to defend Rodo, but he wasn't lying about us all sharing the same dream. Now we're back to Mountain Beard. Loki was the same. I believe his motive for Harold's murder was his attempt to follow in Nika's footsteps. Nothing can justify what he did, Elder. Hmm? Loki? So he's a good guy? No way in hell, all the giants respond angrily. He's the accursed prince. There was a prophecy before Loki was born that foretold that King Harold would be slain by his son. Then, shortly after his birth, the royal steed, the horse of fortune, died. That was the same year that Linlin murdered the legendary hero Yor. And the tragedies kept coming. A year later, the queen herself passed on. The princeling would go on to use his natural strength to make the realm of the dead his own personal playground. He killed many of those ferocious beasts and tamed the rest. He even released a few into the villages. And that was all by the age of 10. So we've got another one of those. It's not quite an Odin backstory, but it's kind of similar. He was an arsonist. Loki's mischief endangered countless lives. He had the authority of a prince and a malicious personality. He caused hell whenever the king wasn't looking. Then finally, in that very castle, Loki killed King Harold, the greatest monarch Elbaf ever knew. A splendid wise man who tried to connect with the outside world, to get people to see beyond Elbaf's feared reputation as a land of warriors. Lord Jarl was stabbed trying to stop Loki. My helmet saved me in the end. It didn't save anything. So the sword sticking out of Jarl's helmet is a Loki sword? Or a sword that Loki used to try and stab him? Loki's reign of terror finally came to an end 6 years ago. He was running amok at sea when Red-Haired captured him. Shanks? Shanks really came here? Yeah, in fact, he was just here earlier. I'm not sure where he went off to, though. Outskirts. The village outskirts. I thought that you were acting weirdly on edge earlier. That explains it. You realize he's a reviled Kingslayer, right? Everything he told you was obviously just a lie. So you've got Zoro and Luffy talking now. He said he knew where Shanks was. Do you have any idea how badly I want to see him again? Yes, I've heard about it 1,000 times. Sounds to me like he was using that to trick you. How would you know? You've never met Loki yourself. So Zoro is suspicious. Luffy, of course, is completely trusting. I haven't. I'm just guessing based on his reputation. And we get a flashback to Luffy meeting Loki. I'll tell you everything I know. That includes Red-Hair's current whereabouts. If that really was a lie, I'm going to send him flying. If you're sneaking off to do what I think you are, did you seriously expect to find your way there without me? So that's Nami talking now. Listen up, Luffy. We'll get the key, but if he pulls anything funny, we'll have to take care of him. Got it, thanks. But why is this guy here? He's my new slave. I'm truly blessed. So now Road is working with the Straw Hats. He's rowing them on an airboat to, I guess they're going to get the key and free Loki. And Zeus has come out of the climate act. Don't forget, I'm her #1 slave and Sanji's #2. Defufufu, strong girls really get my blood pumping. He's been struck by lightning, literally. Namitaso, isn't it neat how we're both navigators? Don't ever try to get close to me again. Yes, ma'am. It feels wrong for the guests of honor to bail so early. Don't worry, I bought some meat. Have you tried this moose? They're all in a drunken stupor now. They probably can't remember what they're celebrating. Say, if all the treasure in the castle suddenly disappeared, would that be a problem, Rhoda? My vision is awful, so I'm sure I wouldn't even notice. You had this in mind since the beginning, didn't you, Nami? Huh? Your eyes! Nami's eyes turned into the berry sign. So that's why Nami's so willing to help them, because she can steal all the treasure in the castle along with the key. Now we've got a nice outshot, long shot of Elbaf, the entire island, or at least yeah, it looks like the entire island, not the tippy top of the tree, but the first 3 layers at least. Doga ha ha ha. So that's what it is. Now we're back to the realm of the dead. Doga ha 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 ha. If I understood you correctly, I'm afraid I'll have to step back and refuse your offer. I'm sure it's an honor to be invited to join your noble knights, but that would make you celestial dragons, right? Do you really expect anyone on the planet to willingly become scum like that? So we got Loki talking to the 2 cloaked figures, the 2 that appeared in the last chapter, the one that looks like Shanks and the other one. This confirms that they are god knights, because Loki's referring to them as knights and saying that joining them would make him a celestial dragon, or the fact that they are knights makes them celestial dragons. But this also gives us a little bit information. There are people on the planet that know of the existence of the God Knights. So Loki here knows the God Knights exist, and they're trying to recruit him, obviously, but I'm wondering if it's just Loki or if there are other people that know about the existence of the God Knights. We know that Dragon knows about the existence of the God Knights, but is that due to the revolutionaries' intel gathering? How many regular people on the planet know about the existence of the God Knights? It seems not too many. Like, Cypherpole is kind of secret, but also pretty generally known in the world of pirates and marines. I think that the God Knights are more secret than Cypherpole, but even then, it doesn't seem like they're a total secret. So the one who looks like Shanks, do we have any intel? And the other one, all the informants we sent to Elbaf reported a giant crow heading for them before their transmissions got cut off. Their weakness is beyond belief. I'm done just standing by and listening. This is the definition of impertinence. I won't let it stand. And so we've got a full reveal of one of the characters. The other one, she seems to have 2 different eyes, or her eyes. The pupils in her eyes are different. One seems to be darker than the other one. God's Knight Gunko. God's Knight Gunko. So that's her name. And her design is pretty interesting. We've got the cloak, black cloak. She's got long sleeves, extra long sleeves to go over her hands. And one of her sleeves seems to be unraveling like a bandage with an arrow on the end. That's interesting. Is that a devil fruit power that's activating, making her sleeve unravel like that? Not entirely sure, but it looks like a devil fruit power. Okay, the Shanks guy says, "Don't be hasty, Gunko." Grr, we got a giant wolf approaching them. Doga, ha 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 ha. Eat him up, wolf. Hey, stay back if you want to keep breathing. Now we've got Gunko using her power. It's almost like a bandage, like her sleeve unraveled and turned into a bandage with an arrow on the end. And so she's further unwrapping it. It's swirling. She makes a gesture. The bandage wraps around the wolf's throat and tightens. Huh? Hey, wolf! And now it's lifting the wolf up into the air, hanging it by the neck. If we were to spare him, would you change your mind then? Says to Shanks. So that's how you operate, huh? Well, if that was your offer, I'd accept my friend's fate and wish him peace in death. It's okay to grieve and rage, but a warrior never kicks and screams in the face of death. I'll swallow all my fury and use it to fuel me when I reduce this world to rubble. A proud proclamation. Chapter end. So, very interesting chapter. We got a lot of information coming in from this chapter. First of all, we've got the existence of, we got a little bit more about the sun god. We now get that there isn't one direct, straight legend of the sun god on Elbaf. There are multiple legends due to different interpretations of these Harley texts, which are ancient texts that depict the story of Nika. So we'll start with the Harley text. Are the Harley texts written in the same language as the phoneglyphs? Because if that's the case, then Robin would be able to translate and give a true translation at some point during the arc. If the Harley texts are written in a language that is not the phoneglyphs language, then that brings up the question of, is there a language from before 900 years ago, before the Void Century? But if there was, would the Harley text be the only remaining artifacts with that language on it? And if that were the case, it would make things a lot more difficult, because Robin studied the phoneglyphs and learned to read the text on the phoneglyphs. If this is an entirely new language, a new ancient dead language, her research would have to start all over again to learn that language. But the problem is, if the Harley text is the only remaining sign artifact of that language, there's not a lot to learn from. There's not a lot to make comparisons to and draw out what the full language is. So my guess right now is that the Harley texts are written in the poneglyph language, and Robin will be able to translate. It also lines up because the giants don't travel outside of Elbaf that often. The giants of Elbaf don't travel outside of Elbaf that often. So they wouldn't really know that the ancient language in the Harley text has been studied by people out in the world, or that it exists on other artifacts, namely the phoneglyphs. So that lines up, kind of makes sense. Then we have the text of the Harley text. The Story of Nika. It's roughly translated at least 2 or 3 different times, maybe even more than that. But depending on the translations you read, Nika is either a destroyer who brought about the end of the world, or a savior who saved the world. Let's see what they said. The Harley text, where is it? Yeah, no one can say for sure which translation is accurate. In an archaic language, countless interpretations. So yeah, way more than 3. A ruler, god of liberation, or god of destruction, or god of laughter. So specifically mentioned by the arguing giants, there are 4 interpretations here. Sun god rules the world. Sun god is a god of liberation. Sun god is god of destruction. Or sun god is god of laughter. The text, and this is the important part, according to the text, the world has already been destroyed twice before. And the name of the sun god Nika is invoked after each instance. And that makes sense with kind of the way the story has been going. It seems the story is indicating that the world has been destroyed at least once before, and now, through the Harley text, we're getting confirmation it's been destroyed perhaps at least twice before. And if it's been destroyed twice before, it might have been destroyed multiple times before, which leads to that theory of the world resetting every, I don't know, every couple of millennia. It resets, and each time it resets, the sun god Nika appears in the world. But then there's this, well, I guess it kind of does make sense. And the destruction of the world isn't really complete, because there are things left behind. And the new world that rises up out of the destruction of the previous world has bits of information from the old world, and that builds on the legend of Nika, which begs the question, was the event of the Void Century, the event that happened during Joy Boy's era, was that the destruction of the world entirely? Was that a global destruction event caused by Joy Boy, followed by the rise of the current timeline up to the present? So if we try to put this on a grand timeline, we have the era of Nika, or the earliest era of Nika that we know of in the story. The world was destroyed, sun god Nika arose. Then we have the Void Century, 1,000 years ago. The world was destroyed, Joy Boy arose. And then we have the current timeline. Seems the world is about to be destroyed, and we have Luffy arising. That seems like it makes sense with what the information we have so far on the story. And it tracks because there are stories that date back. There's stories that date back. Stories, artifacts, and information that date back and tie to Joy Boy. There's stories, artifact, information that date back and tie to Nika. Are there any stories so far in the main One Piece story, there hasn't been information to anything that ties to before the existence of Nika. So maybe Nika is the Genesis, the first Joy Boy first reincarnation, Luffy second reincarnation. But it does set that up. I'm glad that Oda is doing this the way, handling this the way he is, because as we've always said, the story of One Piece is a story about freedom. Luffy is a character that represents freedom. He's not necessarily good or necessarily bad. He's just Luffy. He does what he wants. He's about freedom. So having him tied down to a legacy and a prophecy doesn't make sense for the One Piece story. Luffy's fate is not predetermined. Luffy's fate is whatever Luffy wants it to be, whatever he chooses it to be, whatever he pursues. So there is no predetermined set fate. There's no prophecy that Luffy must do this. The only thing Luffy must do, for Luffy himself at least, is what he wants to do. So that ties in nicely with the Sun God, because depending on how you interpret the text, people might consider the Sun God a bad guy. People might consider the Sun God a good guy. People might consider the Sun God a god of laughter, a god of whatever. It all depends on each individual person or group of people's perception of the Sun God. While the Sun God is perhaps a neutral force that does whatever the Sun God wants to do, and people are interpreting that as A, ruling the world, or B, destroying the world, C, being a god of liberation, or what have you. And of course, it also continues one of the other themes of One Piece, which is Luffy's fight against the world itself. The world trying to force Luffy into boxes, various positions, roles, and him resisting that at every opportunity. So now that he's attained these Nika powers and this connection to an ancient god, the world is trying to force Luffy into that role, that he is a god of destruction, a god of laughter, a god of liberation, a god of what have you. Luffy is resisting that very concept, that very idea to the end. And of course, it makes sense that by the end of the story, Luffy is not going to embrace any one of these interpretations that have been predetermined and laid out for him to fall into. Ruler of the world, destroyer of the world, god of liberation, god of laughter, god of whatever. Luffy is going to forge his own path, doing what he wants, doing what he pleases, following his dreams. And this might actually tie into Luffy's ultimate dream, why he wants to be King of Pirates, why he wants to attain the One Piece. His ultimate dream could end up being the thing. The goal that Luffy attains ends up being the thing that ends up being the sort of the epithet that his version of Nika, the legend of Nika that surrounds Luffy, that ultimately gets told, will revolve around. So, for instance, with Joy Boy, it was the god of liberation. Everyone considered that incarnation of Nika, Joy Boy, to be a god of liberation, a fighter for liberation, even though we don't necessarily know that Joy Boy was fighting for liberation specifically. But we know that's what people considered him. Or is that an interpretation of Nika, the original Nika, one of the misinterpretations or interpretations from the Harley text that was applied to what Joy Boy did? And maybe what Joy Boy did wasn't really about that either. But I suppose it does make sense. We don't know what Joy Boy was pursuing, what his goal was. We have legends about Nika that predate Joy Boy. So the thing is about Nika's legend is when someone is revealed to have the fruit and the powers of Nika, all of the previous legends about Nika get applied to them. So all of their actions after that point are viewed through the lens of an interpretation of the Harley text. So for example, Luffy awakening Gear 5th, Luffy defeating Kaido and freeing Wano. People that follow the God of Liberation interpretation of the Harley text will consider that Luffy being Nika, God of Liberation, liberating Elbaf. People that view things from the Rule of the World interpretation of the Harley text would see that as Luffy as Nika being ruler of the world. Wano, the way Wano was under Kaido displeased him, and as ruler of the world, he made that change. And then the people that view it through the God of Destruction interpretation would see it as Luffy as Nika is a destroyer, so of course he destroyed whatever the structure was in Wano, destroyed that country and left it completely different, rebuilding, and that sort of filter. Same deal. He liberated Alabasta to some. He destroyed Alabasta to others. He brought laughter to Alabasta to others. He turned things upside down in Alabasta to others. So there's that interpretation from people based on their lenses, how they see Luffy's actions. And for Luffy himself, all he was doing was helping a friend achieve what that friend wanted to do, helping that friend achieve her dreams. And that might be the ultimate, a god of dreams. I don't know if that's what Luffy's version of Nika is ultimately going to be considered by the end game, a god of dreams. But that could be a possibility. God of dreams. I mean, kind of could make sense for Luffy. I suppose another one could be God of Freedom, but the problem with that is it sounds a lot like liberation. Even though we're talking about two separate concepts here. Liberation would be freeing people that aren't free. And God of Freedom, it would be ultimate freedom, doing exactly what you want whenever you want. Nothing stops you. So I could see God of Freedom as an epithet, but I'm not entirely sure on that one because of how it could be interpreted in that sort of redundant manner where liberation and freedom are tied together, even though they should be kept separate. So that's a little bit of thought on the whole Nika and the Harla texts. We also have the information that more information on Loki. It seems like it's still seeming like maybe Loki killed Harold. Maybe he didn't. It's seeming more likely that he did, at least from the stories that people of Elbaf are telling. But then they also do say that something happened. A horse of good fortune died, and from that point on, bad things were happening in Elbaf. Linlin killed Ural shortly after the Horse of Good Fortune died. Loki killed Harold. Harold did want to open up. It's not exactly the same as a Wano situation because Elbaf doesn't really have closed borders per se. It's just really dangerous and complex to get there. But what Elbaf does have is that reputation of being ruthless Viking warriors, and that's what King Harold was concerned with. He wanted to end that perception of Elbaf among the world. And to do that, open trade with other nations seems like a quick and direct way to accomplish that. So it's kind of similar to Elbaf or Wano with Kozuki Oden, but also not similar. And we have nothing that indicates that so far that indicates Loki really cares specifically about Elbaf and whether Elbaf is open to trading with the rest of the world or not. It seems Loki's goal is to become the sun god Nika and destroy the world. So Loki is taking on the destruction, Nika as a god of destruction. Hmm. So he's taking on that interpretation and trying to achieve that for himself. And all the giant warrior pirates have the same dream of becoming Nika. But everyone has their own interpretation of what Nika is. So that brings up the question, if all the giant warrior pirates are interested in that, what are they trying to achieve? What are their goals? Like, for instance, what does becoming Nika mean to Harujin? He obviously doesn't want to be a god of destruction, so that's out of the picture. Is it liberation? But liberating what? Or does Harujin want to be god of just a ruler of the world? Or is there something else? Maybe it's strength, a god of strength. Harujin wants to be strong, the strongest. And then we have that same question for each of the other members of the Giant Warrior Pirates. And is it just the pirates that dream of becoming Nika, or is it every giant in Elbaf? Whether they're a pirate or not? It's hard to tell. Let's see. At the party, I believe every giant at the party is a member of either one of the giant warrior pirates crew. Ural isn't a member. Well, or was he a pirate? Was Ural ever a pirate? Trying to remember. I think they might have been pirates. The previous captains before Dorian Broggie, I think. I think that's right. So everyone here is a pirate. So now, have them. Straw Hat's going to get the key to free Loki. Because Loki has information about Shanks. Which means the Straw Hats are going to head back to the realm of the dead to encounter Loki. Okay, so that's where the Straw Hats are going. Then we have the end portion of the chapter where we get the revelation. So, got confirmation these are God Knights. These are God Knights that have the teleportation power of a celestial dragon. Now, that brings up the question, why do they have the teleportation power? Well, not a celestial dragon. They have the teleportation power of the Gorosei. Why do they have the teleportation power of the Gorosei? There's two options, as I believe I explained last chapter. A, this is Garling. Garling is using his new powers as a Gorosei to teleport some of his God Knights around the world to do his bidding. B, the God Knights themselves have some power. But that power would have to be granted them by Imu. And it's kind of weird because Gunko's power is the way that her bandage kind of power, that's what I'm going to refer to it as because that's what it looks like, a bandage. Like a bandage with an arrow on the end, which it's very, very similar to the arrow slash devil tail that Imu was using. Which brings up the question, is there a connection there? Is this a devil fruit power? Which it's very, very interesting because in Gunko's introduction, we just get the name and the rank. God's Knight Gunko. No mention of a devil fruit, even though clearly some power is activating here, where her sleeve is unraveling and turning into a bandage with an arrow on the end. Then the question becomes, is that a devil fruit power? The simplest explanation is it's a devil fruit power. And it having an arrow theme to it that makes it look like a white version of Eames' black arrow slash devil tail power is just coincidental. Which, it's a simple possibility, but I don't know if I believe that. I put an arrow on the end of the bandage. That's the question. It's so specific that there has to be a connection there. So is this a subtle hint at Emu's ultimate power, or is this a red herring? Or just something to get in people's heads and make them think and question? But the simplest, we'll break it down to the simplest explanation, possibility. It's a devil fruit unrelated to Emu. Garling is using his Gorosei powers to teleport others using the summoning circle, which would confirm that the Gorosei summoning circles can summon others that are not directly related to Emu and haven't been granted power by Emu. So, for instance, the Gorosei could create a circle and use it to transport Marines, or transport pirates, or transport some of the regular celestial dragons somewhere using the summoning circle. That's the simplest explanation possible. And I think that's the most likely in this scenario. Even with Gunko's power very, very much mirroring and invoking Eames' Devil Tail / arrow deal. They're trying to recruit Loki into the God Knights. That seems to be their goal here. Why do they want to recruit Loki specifically? Let's see. Is it purely because of his strength? Is that it? Or is there something else? I suppose it could purely just be for his strength. We also have mention of the giant crow. Giant crow being one of Loki's friends here in the realm of the dead. And who do they send? They send informants. So, not celestial dragons, but informants. Giants or regular sized humans? They had to have been regular sized humans because they reported a giant crew heading for them. Informants. They're trying to recruit Loki. So this brings up the question of why they're trying to recruit Loki. Is it power? Is it information? Is it a mix of the two? Might be a mix of the two. They're trying to recruit Loki. Doing it by force, can they free him? Is the question. It seems like they can't. They probably can. I don't know if they can break the chain necessarily, but they could probably move to locate the key to free Loki. Which, that might be the way the story is heading. If Loki ends up agreeing, then the God's Knights will move towards the castle looking for the key to free Loki. And at that point, they might run into Luffy. Or if they can already free Loki, what if it's a situation where Loki's already gone by the time the Straw Hats return to the realm of the dead to look for him? So there are multiple ways the story could go. We've been drip fed a little bit more information about Nika. I'm hoping we'll get some more in the next chapter, because that would be very helpful. I feel like we're slowly piecing together bit by bit little details about the history of the world, since we learn the world is on a path to destruction. And each one kind of hints towards what the One Piece is. Because going back to the Nika analysis, that's the one thing that I didn't keep in that realm as an assumption. I think it's a safe baseline assumption to say that every version of Nika eventually found the One Piece. And the One Piece always tied to the destruction of the world, the destruction / remaking of the world. Every version of Nika eventually found the One Piece, and but then see that it's hard. See, it's hard to say this with a certainty, because it would have to mean that the One Piece has existed for, at the very least, exactly the same amount of time that Nika has existed. So when Nika first came into existence, the One Piece also came into existence. I don't think that's the case. So if that's not the case, that means there's only two possibilities. Either the One Piece predates Nika, so the One Piece has existed for longer than Nika has, or the other option is that Nika predates the One Piece. So the One Piece came into existence sometime after Nika did. I feel like that one is more likely. Do we know the One Piece was around in Joy Boy's era? We don't even know the One Piece was around during Joy Boy's era. Joy Boy was the first pirate. First person. But he was the first pirate in this world, the first pirate in this version of the world. Were there pirates or something similar to pirates that existed in the world before it was destroyed and became the world of the Void Century? If we go back to Nika's era, were there what was considered pirates, something akin to pirates back then? But to the existence of the One Piece, we can only trace its existence back to as far back as Roger's era, because Roger was the first person to find it, at least known in the story, first person to find the One Piece. Go back to Joy Boy's era, there's no One Piece. So, we have to confirm, was there a One Piece back then? And then there's the matter of the ancient weapons. They're referred to as ancient weapons. We know those do date back to the time of Joy Boy. The ancient weapons 100% confirmed do date back to the time of Joy Boy. So they must have existed before the time of Joy Boy. The question is the One Piece like the ancient weapons? If it is like the ancient weapons, then the One Piece would have to have existed for as long as the ancient weapons have existed, which would mean the One Piece existed before the time of Joy Boy. So Joy Boy became the first pirate. Did he find the One Piece, or did he not? The first pirate didn't find the One Piece. Roger found the One Piece. But then, thanked Roger. Roger found the One Piece. There was a message from Joy Boy there. Joy Boy either created the One Piece or found the One Piece and left a message with the One Piece. So that does date the One Piece to existing Not at the time of Joy Boy necessarily, but it depends. Did Joy Boy create the One Piece, or did he just add his message to the One Piece along with the One Piece? The first pirate created the ultimate pirate treasure. That's very thematically sound and tight. Joy Boy, the first pirate. Joy Boy created the pirate treasure, the One Piece. Boom. That's nice and neat. But then, that would mean the One Piece has only existed since the time of Joy Boy, since 900, 1,000 years ago. And that would mean the ancient weapons would predate One Piece. There's still that question. I suppose it all depends on what the One Piece itself is. Maybe the One Piece is just a name. Let's say this thing has existed. It's like a fourth ancient weapon, just for hypothetical's sake. One Piece is a fourth ancient weapon. It's existed for as long as the ancient weapons have existed. Ancient times dating all the way back to, maybe dating all the way back to the time of Nika. Joy Boy eventually finds this fourth ancient weapon and he dubs it the One Piece. So Joy Boy names it the One Piece and adds his message to it. So the One Piece has existed since ancient times, but it's only been known as the One Piece since the time of Joy Boy. That's another possibility. So rather than Joy Boy creating the One Piece entirely, it could be a case that Joy Boy found what was the One Piece, named it the One Piece, added his message to it. And I think that makes the most sense because we have to consider what the theories are about the end game of One Piece. Global change. Finding the One Piece changes the world. 100% true. It's a catalyst for global change, destruction, what have you. It affects the entire planet. The planet has been reset, destroyed 2 times previously. That's also 100% set in stone. Which means the One Piece as the catalyst has been found and used at least 2 times previously. If we assume that every world destruction is the direct result of someone finding and using the One Piece. That's not confirmed, but it kind of seems likely at this point. That means, well, I have to phrase this right. Every world destruction has been followed by Nika, specifically the incarnation of Nika of that time, finding the One Piece and using the One Piece. So ancient time, world was destroyed, Nika probably used the One Piece. Void Century, world was destroyed, Joy Boy used the One Piece. That's our 2 times previously. Luffy will be the 3rd time Luffy finds and uses the One Piece. Roger finds the One Piece, can't use it, wrong person, wrong time. So at least between these two, at least between Nika and eventually in the future Luffy finding the One Piece, we have Roger Wrong person, wrong time. Finding the One Piece. So that means it's possible that there might have been others in the past. Wrong person, wrong time who found the One Piece. Pretty darn sure since Joy Boy's an incarnation of Nika, if he found the One Piece, he was the right person, right time to use it at that time. But the thing about that is it also means that this world, this version of the world, see, it doesn't make sense though. If Joy Boy found the One Piece, world ruler, world creator, that would mean the version of the world after that point would be the world created in Joy Boy's image, created from Joy Boy's vision. Is this world, the current world of One Piece, the world created from Joy Boy's mind, Joy Boy's vision, Joy Boy's desire? I don't know if that's necessarily true. It has pirates, which obviously Joy Boy would like that. But then it has marines, it has the celestial dragons, it has all this horror and destruction in it. Joy Boy wouldn't, well, from what we know of Joy Boy. Or maybe it's one of those cases where it's like the monkey's paw wish. And I suppose that does ultimately tie to the concept of freedom, because freedom does have consequences. When you make a choice to do something, the world responds to it. And the response might not always be exactly in your favor or what you want to happen. So it might be the case that with, let's say, Joy Boy made the world the way he wanted it. He wanted the world with pirates, world of pirates. He created the world of pirates. Well, the cost of that is the world of pirates has to have a world of an anti-force. There has to be balance to it. So it created the world with the celestial dragons, the marines, and all the suffering and all that. So that was the payoff, the price, the balance. World of pirates is a world of marines and celestial dragons and all that. So that would mean whatever Luffy wishes for, it's going to have a negative effect. There's going to be a negative side effect, a balance. And perhaps that balance is where the interpretations come from of Nika as a god of creation and a god of destruction. A god of good and a god of evil. I guess that could be the case. Which would also mean that if Luffy is a god of dreams, that he's also a god of nightmares. Hence, Nightmare Luffy. Hmm. Hmm. That's a very nice. It's very nice and thematic in that sense. Luffy, a god of dreams, god of nightmares. I think I'm liking the God of Dreams epithet more and more as I'm thinking about this. Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably what I'm going to go with in my mind so far. For ultimately Luffy, what Luffy, the Legends of Luffy as Nika is going to be known as in the future, going forward, God of Dreams or God of Nightmares. I think that works very well. But I think that's going to be it for this chapter. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff, and I will catch you all in the next video. Hang tight until then.